Welcome to another IoT intro video. I'm your host Ulno, and today we make a little follow-up video to the PWM video because servo motors are also controlled via PWM, and that's what we are trying to control from IoTempower here today. So you see here basically two servo motors, and we will actually see later these are slightly different, but I will reveal at the end of the video what was different here. This is our test 01 node, and this is our test 02 node. They have been flashed with IoTempower before, so we can actually connect them directly to power. And this is important because the servo motors draw quite a bit of power. So if you flash something where you want to wire a motor to, I would highly recommend to flash it before you connect the motor to. And so we see the motors actually connected, these small motors, you can actually connect directly. If you have bigger motors, you will need another external power supply. So this one is connected to 5 volt on the red line. Then on the orange line, it is connected to D2, and the brown line is connected to ground. So both the same for the same motor. So you would expect them to do the same, but let's see what happens if we apply values to them. And first we have to flash them, but I can just deploy them. So let's make sure we configure that correctly. So we have test 1 and test 2. So test 1, configure it as a servo. So see, that was the PWM example from before. So we need to replace that with the right servo command. Even if you could use that too for using a servo, but then it always stays at this point. So the nice thing is that the servo command allows us to switch it off after a short while to remove the power draw. So let's look at the manual. So we go here to commands, and there's actually a specific servo command. There you see it, servo. And you see a couple of parameters to configure this and to calibrate it. But in general, we only need here the name and the pin. And that's what we will use here today. If you need some more precision, you might look at the other parameters. So this is kind of the example we can have here. So we take that and copy it here in our editor. We do that for this one, and it's not connected to D4, it's connected to D2. I call this the motor 1. Let's also copy that and put it also in the second. And this is the motor 2. It's actually also, let's call it motor 2, and it's also connected to test 2. So we could also call it motor 1, then it's the first motor connected to the second one. So we have 2 more times the same program, and now we have to flash them to both of them. They're not in the same room, so we have to flash them single. I could also flash all the devices if they would be in one folder, but let's deploy each of them alone. First one, deploy test 01. So you see the left one is receiving code. And let's do the second one. And we are flashing the second one. And done. And so let's go quickly to node red so that we can create the input for them. Here are our duty cycle tests. So let's basically take this and copy it and change it. Probably, so this is basically servo 1, and the output, we need to enable this, and the output is test 01, and we called it motor 1 set, and so the servo takes a value from 0 to 180. And then here we also have to enable this, and this is the motor 2, and it takes 0 to 180, and I will actually send the value only on release. Oh. And here, make sure these both are enabled. Also this one only on released, and enable this one and use the right topic, test 02, motor 2, and set, and enable. Let's deploy that, and then let's look at the UI. So both are now set to 0. Let's test the motor 1 first. So you see, basically, when I move this here around, I can set the angle of this. And you see that it kind of moves a little bit. That has to do with this fact that I switch off the motor afterwards. So you get higher precision if you power it the whole time, but you also wear out the mechanics in the motor. So you have to do a trade-off. So often you have kind of applications where you want to push something with the motor, so you basically go from 180 back to 0. And then see, you can actually easily go from one side to the other. So let's do the motor 2 and see what happens if I set a value on the motor 2. So you see it actually, even if I set the same angle, it kind of just turns. So if I now move it to the other side, you see it's actually turning the other direction. So this is what we call a continuous servo or a hacked servo, which basically just drives different speeds. So if I'm close to 90 degrees, it's very, very slow. You see it barely moves. But if I have a bit faster, see then it's moving very slow. And if I'm here, it moves quite fast. Same thing is in the other direction. So if I'm here, it moves barely. And if I'm here, it's faster. And here it's the fastest. So this way you have different speeds on a so-called hacked servo. So I would like to show you maybe one more short thing, which is the servo switch, which you can use to push things. So let's look at the servo switch quickly. The servo switch allows you to iterate between two angles and having a resting angle. So we can take something like this. And let's replace our servo 1 that was a true servo, and this only works with a true servo, with this one. And this is on D2. And this will take on and off as the command. So one is the on stage and one is the off stage. And the third one is the resting stage. Let's deploy that. So while this is flashing, let me create the node red for this one. So for this we need actually a switch. Actually a real switch, dashboard switch. Let's call this the servo switch. And we're sending on and off. String on, string off. And then we need the same topic here. Disable this one. This is test 1. Actually, test 1, motor 1, set. And we disabled the wrong one because this was still working, but we should disable this one because this we overwrote. Done. Deploy that. We check if we deployed correctly. Deploy successfully done. Perfect. So the servo switch should work now. So let's look at our UI and let's switch. So you see it basically it pushed to the one side and then it comes there. And now it pushes to the other side and comes to the resting position. So this way you can do some kind of push buttons that have an on and an off stage. So this is the fun we can have with servos in IoTempower. So you can use the normal servo function or you can build a servo switch. I might link here a video where we use the servo switch to build actually and turn a real light switch somewhere here in the video. And as you see, It's usually just one command, and then it's quite easy. Remember, you want to wire this actually not directly to your USB port, but to a real power supply, and then you should be fine to go and play with this small servos. Hope you enjoyed that. See you soon again in the IoT Empire. Stay tuned, and ciao!